Hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk a little bit about declutters. So obviously this time of year there's been a ton of declutters, and I wanted to talk a little bit about stuff I've decluttered in the past, and do I miss it? Did I, whatever. And I've decluttered a lot of makeup, trust me. But there's certain ones that I've always kind of remembered. So the first one that I want to share is the Urban Decay The Naked 3. So I'll put pictures and so forth on the screen, but so I never had the Urban Decay The Naked 1 or the Naked 2. Actually, the Naked 3 is the only one I ever had. And it was very pink, of course. And also the shadow formula for Urban Decay is like that very stiff, firm formula. So if you think like MAC is like that, Too Faced mattes to a certain extent as well. And so every single look just looked exactly the same. So I used it a couple of times, and honestly, probably the Naked 2 would have been a better option. But the one that I always kind of regretted not buying was the Naked Smoky. I'll see if I can find a picture. But when I tried the Urban Decay Naked 3, I actually thought there was something like wrong with the palette. Because every, shade kind of came off the same. Every look came off the same. They were really stiff. There was like no payoff. And I have a couple, very few purchases from Urban Decay since, mostly just the Moondust shadows. I just don't like it. Their formula is not the greatest. But I wonder if I didn't have like a good understanding of that formula or that palette, or maybe I should have just picked a different one entirely. I was never interested in the Naked one, and I know that obviously that came back around, but I wasn't interested in it then, and I'm not interested in it now, but I do think about that one. The next grouping of palettes, I think, is Kat Von D. So I want to say the Monarch. I had at least two of them that had the butterflies on the front, and the one, and I'll have a picture up. It caught my eye because it had like a quad of purples, and I thought that would be, good for work and, everyday-ish. And I never really used it. I didn't care for it that much. So I got rid of both of them, and I think I gave them to my niece. But at certain points in time, I gave away like big piles of makeup because I also had really oily eyelids, and if something didn't work and I was traveling, I was working a lot, and if it didn't work like a couple of times, it was out the door. So I've decluttered a lot of stuff. Do I wish I had the Kat Von D ones? I don't think so. I don't think so. I also had the Kat Von D, the shimmer version of the Shade and Light. I didn't even use it. Somebody got it for me as a gift, and I returned it. My husband. And I loved the regular Shade and Light. I still have it over there. I wish I could buy it again, but that one I got rid of immediately. I just knew that I had gotten rid of some of my other Kat Von Ds, and got rid of that one too. The Lorac Mega Pro 4. There was a white one. Was it white or pink? I don't remember. I'll put it on the screen. But I bought the Mega Pro 2 and the Mega Pro 3, but I didn't buy them when they first came out. So this is a kind of a fun makeup lore. Everyone, really loved those palettes. They were really coveted, and they were ultra limited edition. However, years later, QVC brought back the 2 and the 3, and it wasn't mainstream because it was on QVC. I don't know how I stumbled upon it, but I bought the 2 and the 3 then. And I bought the 4, but I never really got much use out of the 2 and the 3 because they were long since past, like when they were popular. I never bought the regular, like the slim Lorac Pro palettes. And I think Lorac's formula, I've panned many shades of Lorac eyeshadows. You know, it's kind of one in which you have to use like 1 or 2 shades mattes, and that you can't layer a lot. You're not going to have a lot of dynamic, like crazy looks or intricate, because it starts to kind of blend together. So I gave away the 4, I believe, to my sister, and I still have the 2 and the 3, and I've been kind of lazy panning them for a very long time. Speaking of Lorac, there was a smaller one. It was purple, and I think it was only sold at Macy's, and it was like 6 pans of eyeshadow and 2 blushes. And again, it was like purple. It was called Romantic something or other. And I thought it would be quick and easy for travel. And I used it a couple of times, and it wouldn't stand my lids. It just wasn't blending out very well. So I got rid of that one. But I don't miss it or anything like that. And like the Lorac shimmer shades, I wouldn't even call them shimmers, right? They're like satins. But especially compared to, indies or anything, they're just really, really subtle. So one other one that I have thought about in the past is this BH Cosmetics. So BH Cosmetics is obviously no longer, but there was a bronze something or other palette. I'll put the picture on. But it was during kind of that stage of makeup where it was always like neutrals with a pop of blue or a pop of teal, and this was exactly like that. But I always remember this one because I liked this palette, and I liked it so much I actually bought it twice. So I bought one for my daughter, who's not really that into makeup at all, but it was good quality, easy looks and so forth. I do kind of wish I still had that. I mean, obviously it'd be old as the hills, but I have a ton of BH palettes still over there because I refuse to get rid of them. And I spray all my stuff down with alcohol and check it and so forth. But that one was one that maybe for the nostalgia of it, or just the memory of like ordering it again a second time as a gift. But you kind of wish I had that and see if the quality held up, or was it still good. Another one along those lines, there was a NYX palette, and it was like a 12 or 15 pan eyeshadow palette, very neutral, and then underneath it had like a drawer that you pull out, and it had a bunch of face products, and it was called something like Underneath It All or Bare Necessities or something like that. And this is kind of a similar story to the Urban Decay Naked 3. The shadows were like so stiff or hardly pressed that you really couldn't get anything out. And maybe it's just meant to be buildable and just kind of that quick everyday look. But that's the reason I got rid of that one. And I have never purchased NYX eyeshadows since then. I know they have like the little vintage denim one, or I see them obviously in the grocery store and stuff like that, and maybe their formula, it should be vastly different at this point, but it was just really that hard press, kind of no pigment, and it was bulky. It was like thick because it had that drawer underneath of it, and got rid of that, and it kind of soured me for a drugstore eyeshadow. Another one, similar story, was the e.l.f. the 10 pan palettes. So the Mad for Matte, the Mad for Matte 2. Then there was a 6 pan, which was the Prism. But I used those. I bought the first one, Mad for Matte, which was kind of cool toned. I thought it was going to be right up my alley. bought that. I used it a couple times and, couldn't really get anything good out of it. And then I ended up with like 5 of them. So maybe like 4 of the 10 pans and then the nude prism. And the nude prism, the shimmers were just like not there, not showing up. And the elf, the 10 pans, they just were not good. And I remember when I was decluttering all of them that because there was like 5 or 6 of them, that was $60, right? Because they were $10 each. And I could have bought anything at that time for, $60 and possibly been happier with it or whatever. But I really, aside from, I want to say, a little touch of Wet n Wild, like I just bought the chameleon chrome and a little 5 pan. I have bought a couple of the LA colors, like the really small ones, just to like throw in your bag for travel. And I know everyone says for travel, but I do travel. And one of the things I will tell you too is I've had people steal my makeup, whether, I was at a resort and so forth. Like, so I bring cheap makeup with me generally, but I still want it to perform. And those e.l.f. palettes, they just weren't it. I see them today, I think they're 11 or 12 or $13 or something like that. But I always just remember thinking as I was getting rid of them, like, oh, this was $60 and now it's gone. So, other things about declutters that I think about is kind of the trends. So I've always worn cool tones and, it was tough when it was like the Morphe 35 whatever palettes. They were all very warm tone, very orange leaning. I never bought any of them because it just wouldn't look good on me. Thank goodness I wouldn't have wanted 35 shades altogether. And I do have some warm tone palettes in my collection, but I think about some of the things that I got rid of, like the Kat Von D, like the Monarch ones. They were totally cool toned, and it just wasn't kind of the trend at the time, and it probably was what looked better on me than something else that was more warm toned. So that's also kind of part of the reason that I don't do like the big declutters. There's plenty of stuff over here that I've retired. I put it like in the vault, but I also use some of it for like just Halloween or just face painting and stuff like that. So that's the reason I don't really do a big declutter, because I know when I see them and people are like, I got rid of 40% of my whatever category. I would really struggle with that, because I would be like, maybe there's a time and a place. And then also, depending on who you're giving it all to, like I said, I've given away big bags of makeup. If they're not into makeup, you're just kind of passing on a burden to them. So curious on your thoughts on that. Like, now you're just transferring your clutter to their house, and how do they really feel about it? Most people, they buy one palette and they have it for 2 years until they use up every single shade, So that's kind of also the thing of it. And a lot of places, they don't take, even lightly used, lightly swatched, or whatever the case may be. I do plenty of donations of other types of things, but makeup is tricky. So anyway, but when you give it to, even family, friends, neighbors, whoever, and they're just not a makeup enthusiast, it's like, what am I supposed to do with all this stuff? So, well, thank you for joining me. I just wanted to go down memory lane a little bit. Do you have anything that, was decluttered or got lost, broken, missing, whatever, that you really just, still kind of think about? I'd love to hear the kind of nostalgia of it in the comments. So thanks. Have a great day.